Okay, so when we looking at the history and we recognize and identify the fact that we have been denied or prevented from having access to our historical identity and what we identified ourselves as, then that means we will make claims and subscriptions to European surnames, ideology, and concept. How is it that we can go into our bloodline and have the name Williams, Wilson, Jones, Brown, and then this European Caucasian has the same name, and for us to say, yeah, you know what? We did experience genocide and enslavement, and yet not have the competency to say, you know what? Why am I still walking around with these terms and these brand names? Where did the term black come from? It's a 15-year-old hundred word. It's dramatic. So that means that if it comes from the 1500s, that makes it a 500-year-old word. Excuse me for the correction. It's a 500-year-old word. There is no such thing as the black ancient people or the black Indians, the Blackfoot. No, these are European terminology that's been made up to steal the birthrights. So you cannot make a proper political claim to your estate. Understand, Europeans are now occupying this land. I'm gonna make reference. The Treaty of Tripoli, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1786, 1787, 1836. These treaties were signed for Europeans to be able to do business on this land. So when you talk about the United States, understand it's a corporation. And we start talking about, oh, look at the United States flag. No, it's not a flag. It is the Star Spangled Banner. This is a banner of commerce and admiralty. So everything that you see that's going on, Europeans have no tie to this land because they come from a different geographical location, so they can only make what we call in law feudal claims. Feudal claims means that I cannot make a claim to the land, yet since you contracted with me and you got this mortgage, I can make claims to the property and say that you're indebted to me through this contract, and now I can make claims to put a lien on this property and foreclose on your property. So I'm making a feudal claim, and feudal means to argue, to create a feud. So when we look at our history, people arguing racism because Europeans primarily, and some of these sellout Negro ass brothers and sisters, they want to use the term black, Negro, and colored, and African American, etc., as a means to get you emotionally upset. And every time we turn around, look what they doing to these black people. Well, I'd rather be black. Well, what the fuck? I got on look what I got on. I got on what you call a black tank top. Okay, so is it a tank top or is it black? Oh, it's a black colored tank top, except for it's still a tank top. You're not walking around saying, look at that black he got on. Same thing when we talk about a mouse. You see a mouse whose fur is black colored. Okay, so is it a mouse or is it black? You get what I'm saying? It's a mouse. It has a nationality, a specific way to identify it in the animal kingdom. It's not identified by a color. You don't hear no Asian talking about, oh, I'm yellow. So when we got that going on throughout our so-called United States of America, or the so-called America, this land that we call, which is originally called Amarat, that means that somebody is purporting a fraud, falsification, doing extortion, human trafficking, and it's to steal the birthrights of the indigenous inhabitants by getting them to misclassify themselves after we have already misclassified them. 1865, this comes the Whigmore Party. This is when Europeans started taking up the term free white persons because it didn't denote complexion. Because we talk about complexion, we know that they fucking pink, orange, peach, ain't got nothing to do with complexion. They adopted this term because it's a political term. That's why it don't got nothing to do with complexion, and it was adopted as a result of the 1865. And this is when you used to see the so-called justices or chief justices wearing them little wigs like George Washington did. This is when they adopted the term, and y'all want to make subscription, look at the Naturalization Act and see when the term, the 1870 Naturalization Act, and see when the first time Europeans adopted the term white people. Before then, the indigenous inhabitants were using it as a title of nobility. So it's identity theft and birthright theft, because when I can get you to classify yourself as my property, as a Negro, black, and colored, then you will not make no claims or subscription to your inheritance, which is the land. You will say, well, we came over here on slave ship. No, that's bullshit. We was already here. So what I'm saying is, we have to be able to go back through history and understand that the arguments that we are making are void. Okay? And it's identity theft and birthright theft outright. Because you ain't able to make a claim to the land, so we're going to make claims, and they act as trustees or forfeiters or fiduciaries because we don't want to wake up our